Historically wet U.S. Northwest faces growing wildfire threat. Issaquah, Washington. APU nestled, the region, famous for its rainfall, has long escaped major burns even as global warming has driven an increase in the size and number of wildfires elsewhere in the American West. But according to experts, previously too wet to burn parts of the Pacific Northwest face an increasing risk of significant wildfires due to the same phenomenon. Climate change is bringing higher temperatures, lower humidity, and longer stretches of drought. And the region is uniquely exposed to the threat, with property owners who are often less prepared for fire than those in drier places and more homes tucked along forests than other western states. In Issaquah and Tampa, with historically short summers, the densely forested coastal territory stretching from northwestern Oregon to British Columbia has long been cloaked in a protective veil of moisture, making even medium-sized fires relatively rare. But global warming is changing the region's seasons. A national climate experts say these long-term changes create a special risk in Pacific Northwest forests. Even a modest increase in contributing factors, like days without rain, could make them much more prone to burning. Those. Exactly when any one part of the region will reach that point is hard to predict, and researchers stress that unknowns exist in forests that have burned so infrequently in the past. But all pointed to, for instance, the region's fire danger this year reached above normal levels 3 months earlier than at any time in more than 10 years, driven partly by an abnormally dry winter. And fire counts are up as of late June. Western Oregon forests have seen double the average number of fire starts from the previous decade U48 compared with 20. Washington jumped. Even the region around Astoria, Oregon, which frequently gets 100+ rainy days per year, has seen a dozen small fires in 2018 and 2019, according to data from Oregon's Forestry Department. That compares with last year, 40% of Washington's wildfires were on its wetter western side, which was alarming. The risk is amplified by development patterns throughout the Pacific Northwest. A 2013 Headwaters Economics survey of development within 550 yards 500 meters of forest lands found that just 6 counties along the western foothills of Washington's Cascade Mountains host more homes in such zones than all of California. Ray Rasker, who heads the nonprofit Land Management Research Group, cautioned the report was narrower than others, which count development up to 1.5 miles (2.4 kilometers) from any wildland, and other types of wild areas are more prone to burning than mature forests. But while officials in California and other states have begun reforming forest edge building and landscaping rules, such codes are rare in the Northwest, and virtually none apply to houses already built, said Tim Ingalsby, who heads Firefighters United for Safety, Ethics and Ecology, an Oregon-based nonprofit that works to update building codes. Wildfires get harder to fight when they penetrate neighborhoods, which happened last year in Paradise, California, where dozens died and thousands of homes burned. Like Paradise, Issaquah has neighborhoods surrounded by dense forests, some with only a single road, and strong seasonal winds. California's fires were a wake-up call, said Rich Burke, Deputy Fire Chief with the East Side Fire Department, which oversees fire protection in and around Issaquah, population 39,000. Wildfire-oriented setbacks and less flammable materials still aren't written into building codes on the city's edges. But Burke said Jason Ritchie, who owns a home just north of Issaquah, said a nearby 2015 fire drove home the risks it had. Search for location/city.
Raindrop, drop top, top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.